Welcome to today's podcast. Today I'm going to take you through the 3 Ps in terms of being really successful and what it takes in terms of people being successful as an online coach and those who aren't successful, and the big difference I see over and over again, alongside teaching some of the huge things I've learned this week, because I've had a wild week. I'm in Marbella in Spain. You can see in the blue background of this if you're watching the video version of this. And the reality is that in terms of where you are right now, I'm going to reveal some secrets in this podcast and give you some value that will help you to get to the next level of where you want to be. Because you don't know what you don't know. And if you're in a position right now in life that you're not happy with where you want to be, there's going to be some nuggets in this podcast episode that are going to give you some value to help you to get to the next level where you want to be. Now, the 3 Ps, what is this? So the first one is the power of preparation. Now, I spoke at an amazing event yesterday with Rob Lipser, Adam Powell. I had an event here in Marbella. It was absolutely awesome, had a great time. And there was a huge amount of value that we gave to the audience there. And the reason I gave so much value, and even in a very concise amount of time, is that I actually ended up in terms of putting this presentation as a priority for me. Now, why I say a priority, because it's really important that if someone who doesn't know me or sees me for the first time, I have a lasting impact. And I remember a story I heard about Michael Jordan. And he said that, why did he play so hard in games when it didn't matter? And the reality was that when there might be a kid, that'd be the only time they get to see Michael Jordan play. I'm not comparing myself to Michael Jordan, but I take a huge amount of pride in everything I do. And for you to be very successful, what you have to do is actually prepare for everything. The way to look really smart for a presentation, for a meeting, for a sales call, piece of content, you have some form of preparation. I'm not winging this. I have a framework for the podcast that I'm doing right now. So I know what I'm going to talk about. And this means I'm not umming, ahhing, and looking like a complete retard. Now, in terms of the preparation, I'm going to go through this at the end in terms of the exact process of how I prepare for things like this. But when it comes to preparation, the most important thing is actually looking at the difference from those who do prepare and those who don't. Because there were some people who spoke at that event who are in the similar industry to me who clearly didn't prepare anywhere near to the level I had. And then it's like looking like a pub team versus playing Real Madrid. And if you were a prospective online coach, for example, who wants help in terms of building a business, who are you going to want to go work with? The pub team or Real Madrid? Like, I want to go play with Zidane and Luis Figo, right? Like, I don't want to go and play with Paul down the pub. Like, it is what it is. And this is the reality in terms of, like, there's levels of everything in life. There's levels of business. There's levels of people in fitness industry. And this all comes down to the biggest thing of actually preparing. So for you right now, whatever you're doing today, whatever you're doing tomorrow, one of the biggest hacks I can give you right now is plan tomorrow today. Now, what does that mean? So at the end of your working day, what I do is I write down the 2 to 3 things I need to do as the main priority tomorrow so that tomorrow is successful. So put it in your diary right now, plan tomorrow today, and let me know how much more success you have in your life when you actually plan ahead. It comes down to everything, not just business. This comes down to actually in terms of your fitness, like what time you're working out, what are you training, like actually having a plan of what you're doing is very, very simple. Now, the second thing I say is actually when it comes to preparing is if there's something you want to get better at, it's actually reps and volume and training and practice. Like inherently public speaking isn't my gift. I'm getting better. I work with a speaking coach and I'll come on to this later on. And then secondly, one of the things I do is I learned to get better at public speaking by watching videos on YouTube. I typed in YouTube, how to get better at public speaking training. And the amount of mistakes I was making that I didn't realize is absolutely insane because you don't know what you don't know. And you watching or listening to this right now, there is a million things that you're not even aware of right now that's causing you to fuck up and make mistakes. The exact same thing for me. And this is why I'm on a mission to learn as much as I can and help other people not make the same mistakes I have. So anything you pretty much want to learn for free, you can learn on YouTube. Like if you want to build an online fitness business, if you go and search Charlie Johnson Scaling Systems and you watch my YouTube videos, I show you how to walk through doing that for completely free. Everything you want to do on the internet, you can pretty much learn for free. But what we basically do is we help you in terms of the execution and doing that with you. Now, the second P I want to talk about is the power of people. Now, why am I talking about the power of people? It's creating an actual tribe, a tribe of people who absolutely love you. And this is why I give so much value to my audience and try and help people as much as possible, because my biggest part of meaning to me, and I spoke about this at the event, is what do you stand for? Well, I stand for a couple of things. One is freedom. I want time freedom, I want location freedom, I want financial freedom. I want to do what I want, when I want, with who I want. That's all I've ever wanted. The second thing is meaning. And meaning to me has a huge amount of fulfillment in terms of helping other people. I spoke at the event about Harry, who we helped in terms of changing his life by building his fitness business, taking from 7K to 40K a month, and he retired his mum at Christmas. And there's a full podcast with Harry on our YouTube channel, which is at Charlie Johnson Scaling Systems on YouTube, where we go through basically showing how he did that. And that gives me a huge amount of fulfillment. I had a great friend, Alistair Hart, messaged me a couple of days ago to say thank you so much for helping him with his business, because he got to take him and his son on their dream trip, renting a Ferrari, doing like a mod ball rally type of thing. And this is, for me, is my meaning. The third thing to me, mastery and self-mastery. Mastery of self. So getting better in terms of your fitness, getting better in terms of your body, getting better the way you look, getting better the way you communicate, having more impact, and becoming the best version of yourself. In particular, as a man, the reason you feel unfulfilled is because you're not actually getting better. And the goal is not to compare yourself to other people, it's just to be better than the person who you were yesterday. The only comparison you should be comparing yourself to is yourself. And this is a very, very, very important thing to understand. Now, when you look at power of people, the huge thing that I'm bringing this up for is that Rob Lipsett, who ran the event yesterday, is like the king of Ireland. Now, I love Rob. He's the most enthusiastic, charismatic guy, which is why he's insane at YouTube and he's great at making content. But the power of people in terms of the tribe, when I see that in person, I'm like, wow, that's amazing. And this is what you see in terms of when people have charisma. They have the ability to communicate. They're naturally upbeat and positive. And this is one huge thing for you to understand. 2 things that can solve all problems for your life. 1 is people, 2 is going to be money. If you know the right person and you have money, you can pretty much get anything solved. And that's a huge thing I'm a believer in. Thirdly, in terms of the 3 Ps, the power of processes. Now, everything I do is process driven. So in terms of, say, talking at this event at the weekend, I have a set process in terms of how I do this. So with that, what I basically look at doing is, firstly, and this is a good framework for anyone with a piece of content, who is the person I'm talking to? What is the audience? What do they want to learn? The second thing from there is, well, it's actually 2 things. The second thing is I break out a framework of a presentation in Canva of like what I'm going to teach these people. How long have I got? How much value can I give? How much can I pack into this? And here's a key secret for any good presentation you always see is at the start, you need to do some storytelling. So at the beginning, I talked about how I was a failed personal trainer when I was 18. I showed a photo of me in the gym group t-shirt from 2008. I looked about 10. I looked young for my age. Secondly, I then showed how I failed from that and then became an estate agent, which I was successful with. Thirdly, I then showed my next step in terms of how I set up my own fitness business. We created one of the largest high-ticket fitness businesses helping people all over the world. Fourthly, how I then created the largest and best fitness mastermind in the world, 7-Figure Scaling Systems, to help people have the freedom that I have. And then lastly, I talked about how I'd sold over $11 million of programs online, and I just bought my dream car cash, which is wild. And I nearly shipped it to Marbella, but it took 6 weeks to do that. So it was not going to happen. Now, in terms of the process, once I'd broken that framework out, what I did then is I went through it with a speaking coach. Is there anything I'm missing here? Is there anything I need to add? Because you don't know what you don't know. I'm not a professional speaker, and there are people who are a lot better than me at this thing, which is why I will pay someone to help me to get better at the thing, because I'm acquiring skills and knowledge, and this is the quickest way for you to get ahead. And then from there, essentially what I did is I'd finish a presentation and then give it to my graphic designer. I make it look pretty. So we had sick graphics of like me talking about risk, and there's like someone skydiving, my face like photoshopped on them. Stuff like that is what makes you stand out from the crowd. And that's just by having a process that you can actually adhere to. And this 3P method is one of the key things in terms of how I really look at everything from business, because it's really down to some very simple things. People, planning, processes. That's as simple as it is, and you can apply that to pretty much anything. And I would say the bigger you get in business, the more important this comes, because you can't wing it as much. And the biggest mistake so many people make is they're just winging everything. They're turning up to an event and they're just going to speak. You're turning up to the gym, you're just going to speak. You're just going to train. You're going to turning up to film content. You have no plan. You have to plan everything if you want to be successful. ... What you're doing when? Sequential thinking. Now, the reality that comes with this is very, very simple as well. People think having structure means you have no freedom. The reality is it's actually the other way around. The more structure you have, the more freedom you have. So to give an example, here in Marbella at the moment, I'm forcing myself to get up early at like 5:45 and crushing work for like an hour and a half. And my goal is to get pretty much all my work done other than like from those 2 hours, other than any like one-to-one or Zoom calls I need to take. And this is how you can create freedom for yourself, by having structure. And as I just saw Alistair on the IG Live said, you can't hit a target you can't see. Dude, set some fucking targets, set some big goals. Like if you want to go and do something outrageous, just tell the world. I'm a huge believer in terms of visualization and putting something out there. And I found a diary note from like 4 or 5 years ago about what I wanted to do in my life. And I looked at it and I just almost started crying, because I was like, fuck, I did all these things. And that's why I say to anyone here who's watching this and listening to this, you can set huge goals and you can achieve them, but you just need to knuckle down and actually take one step in front of the other. Because the biggest reason people struggle is they get overwhelmed and they get afraid. And a question I would ask you right now, what would you do if you weren't afraid? Because there's probably one big thing you're thinking about that's terrifying you. And that one big thing is the thing that's holding you back. Now, what I want to go into is what's really important in terms of people to be successful and not to be successful, and what I see in terms of the difference. So if we're looking at people, online trainers, the biggest joke I see is people, and take this as a compliment, anyone who's listened to this, as like constructive criticism. If you are a trainer, you should look like a trainer. The whole thing of it's not what you know, it's what you can prove is very, very much true. So you have to be in good shape and practice what you preach, because that's the only reason anyone's going to listen to you. So this is huge in terms of point of authority number one for anyone with a business. Point of authority number two is actually getting other people results. And one of the reasons why a lot of people struggle in terms of actually building their online businesses, they struggle really in terms of making content, and they want to be a successful fitness trainer, is, dude, you don't really like fitness. I fucking love fitness. I love training. Like I'm dieting at the moment because I just want to look jacked and like it. It's cool. It's fun. I love this shit. Like this gives me like kicks and giggles, or whatever the expression is. And the most important thing for you is you have to do what you're passionate about. But you're not going to be passionate about something unless you start. And you only get passionate about something when you start to get good at something. So like everyone sucks at the beginning, right? And you have to accept that. But if you want to be successful, what's important to understand is you just need to keep going, so you eventually get slightly good, and then you become passionate about something. Now, if you're struggling as a trainer in terms of making content, this is very, very simple. You just don't know enough, and secondly, you're not learning enough. So one of the reasons I love learning about business stuff is it gives me new stuff to teach. And I'm like an excitable child. When I learn something that's dope, I'm like, oh my God, this is insane. I found something out for YouTube last week, and I'm like, this is next level. And this is the reality in terms of where you are right now, that if you're struggling to make content or struggling to talk to your audience, you probably just don't know enough. And it's very, very easy to learn new things. You can go on YouTube, you can get books. An amazing resource I suggest everyone gets is an Amazon Kindle. You can carry any book in the world you want and pretty much download them for about £5. I read a lot, I listen to a lot of audiobooks, I watch a lot of YouTube. And again, anyone who wants help in terms of building their business, check out Charlie Johnson Scaling Systems YouTube. We basically show you exactly how to do everything. Now, the next thing I say in terms of people who struggle with businesses is, one, they might even have the knowledge to be a really good trainer, but they're afraid to market and they're afraid to put themselves out there and sell. Now, a huge saying I'm a believer in is best known beats best. And I'll repeat that again. Best known beats best. Do you think necessarily McDonald's is the best burger company? Probably not. Personally, I prefer Five Guys. Do you think, for example, Ford is the best car company? Probably not. I like Ferraris, but not as well known. Obviously, different price point. But you get my gist. And the important thing to understand is that for you to be a coach online to be successful, one of the number one things holding you back right now is obscurity. But this also ties into what I just spoke about. Guess what? If you're in better shape and you look the part, you become the attractive character people aspire to be. And what you become in becoming the attractive character people aspire to be, you become the greatest version of yourself that people actually want to follow, because people want a leader now more than ever. And the reality is that for you to actually have people who want to follow you, you have to be somebody worth following. Now, when it comes to getting more traffic, we have an insane course called our 4C course. There's a free link to that in my Instagram bio and on our YouTube channel underneath the videos, under the podcast. If you don't know how to make content, you don't know how to get traffic, check that out. That will show you exactly how to do it and some of the best methods we use in our own business. The next thing I'd say in terms of trainers where they're struggling is fear, and fear of selling higher prices. And transparently, one of the things I really struggled with this. I couldn't justify why someone would pay £1,000 for a fitness program, why someone would pay £3,000 for a fitness program. We've sold fitness programs for £22,000. Now, the reality with this is that you have to understand the value is how you can actually change that person's life longer term. It's not a nutrition and diet plan. People want the accountability and they need to have skin in the game. And the most important thing for you to get to where you want to be, if you want to be an online trainer, unless you've got millions of followers, you need to sell higher priced premium products. Because the people who pay the least are the biggest problem. The people who pay the most are the easiest. And I don't know if anyone's ever seen the meme, but there's a screenshot. It's like a funny meme that goes around where people say, like, there's a guy who's basically paid the $1,000 I've just paid you. This is going to change my entire life, my entire family's life. I'm all in. I've got to make this happen. This is the only chance I have. And it has underneath it, like the next version, $50,000 wire sent. Thanks. And this is the difference between people who are successful and not, is down to the mindset. And a lot of that comes down to people will only spend what they're willing to receive, and will only receive as in sell what they're willing to spend. So if you want to sell high price products, you actually have to be willing to spend high prices yourself. I've said before that I've spent over $250,000 on my own education. And this is one of the quickest ways in terms of how I built my business, because that $250,000 turned into 11 million because I learned the skills, which made me a valuable human being, which is why you're listening and watching this, because I have some skills and information you don't have. And I got that from paying other people to learn from them. And this is a very, very simple framework that I like to really teach through. Now, in terms of sell higher prices, I originally started my fitness business selling 8-week transformation programs at $47 a month. Well, actually, technically before that, in 2015 maybe, I was selling $40 a month PDF Word documents that would take me like 45 minutes to update on a check-in. I've progressed since then, clearly, and you don't know what you don't know. So as soon as I went from selling 8-week programs to payments up front for higher price programs, our business exploded. Now, what happened with this, I remember sitting in Starbucks in Kingston with a friend of mine, and I sold someone an 8-week fitness program for £500. I nearly fell off my chair. I was like, what the hell just happened? I was like, it's like I'd invented fire suddenly. And from then, the 8-week program we actually had a client who ended up paying me £9,000 for a year's coaching program, who bought the $47 a month thing. And I was like, holy shit, maybe I'll just get more people who pay me way more than getting like people pay me $47 a month. And that's how my business took off. And this is why I say to everyone from an advice point of view, I've been in the position you're in, and I know how to get to where you want to be because I've personally done it, and we still do it to this day. And this is why it's very easy for me to give people advice, because any bottleneck or roadblock you've had within your business, I've been there. I've taken our fitness business to $400,000-500,000 a month. Like, if you've gone beyond that, then you can help me. But if not, then I can help you to get there. Now, anyone who has mindset issues, I see a lot of people with mindset issues around money. One of the best books you could read, and I'd write this down, is The Secrets of a Self-Made Millionaire by T. Eckhart. I would read that. It's amazing. I've tried to read some probably every month because it just reframes how you think about money. The second thing I do if you're having a really difficult day, I would get the book Winning by Tim Grover. I would read 10 pages of that and snap you back into action. The last thing I want to finish this podcast with is I'm a huge believer in karma, which is why I try to give as much value and help as many people as possible. One of the most important things you need to do every single day is just show kindness. When someone's having a difficult time, whether it's one of our clients struggling, whether it's one of our fitness clients struggling, whether it's one of my team is struggling, is give kindness. Because what you give out, you get back in groves. And I'm a big believer in karma, law of attraction. And if you help enough people and you help people go through the difficult stuff you've been through, then you will end up being successful because the world will owe you a law of gratitude. And this is a huge thing I think about all the time is, like, if you want to be a billionaire, try and help a billion people. As simple as that. The more value you give to people, the more people you help. Be a good human being. Be ethical. Don't fuck people over. And this is one of my biggest gripes with the industry that I'm now falling into, which this wasn't intentional, is there's so many snake oil salesmen trying to sell something they've never done. I would never teach anything that I have never done. I will never try and sell anything that I can't do. And that's where I'm congruent with who I am. And if you're a fitness trainer watching this, you should be congruent with who you are by also practicing what you preach and teaching the exact thing you've done to be successful. And if you haven't been successful, then you probably shouldn't be trying to teach something you can't do. If you took value from this podcast, make sure you take a screenshot of this, tag it, share it to your stories. I'll repost to anyone. Make sure you check out the Physically Jacked podcast, which is going to be the audio version of this. Our YouTube, we're creating a second YouTube channel for the podcast because we create so much content. People say they can't make enough videos. We make shitloads. So it's just called The Charlie Johnson Show on YouTube. So this will be going on to there. And if you're not already following us on Instagram, hit up at Charlie Johnson Fitness and 7 Figure Scaling Systems. And we'll see you in the next video. Bye.